My name is Dulce Valencia, and welcome to Telenovelascondulce, a podcast where every week I invite special guests to break down the telenovelas we love, from the music to the cast to the unforgettable plot twist.
Every slap, every imbécil, every secret twin.
I have got you covered.
Bienvenidos and welcome to another episode of Telenovelas con Dulce. My name is Dulce Valencia. I am your host. And joining me again is my beautiful friend, the wonderful Aranza Alexandra.
Ooh, again? How many times, Dulce?
Listen, it's been a rough day. I may have a black eye.
Maybe it was a well-deserved black eye. I'm just kidding. No, it's Alexandra. No J.
Aranza Alexandra Marmolejo Ramirez. And just for anyone concerned out there, I'm a boxer. So yeah, I brought this upon myself. And actually one of my goals in boxing is to get a black eye just for the clout.
Yeah, I get that.
Anyway, and speaking of black eyes, Teresa does not get a black eye in this.
I was like, how are you going to connect that?
I was trying to be like, you know her smoky eyeshadow look she does? Oh, where it's like really...
I actually don't like that look.
I don't like it at all.
Sometimes I'm watching Teresa and her makeup, sometimes it makes her look older.
Way older.
Than she actually is. And when she has the least amount of makeup, she looks the best.
But it's also because there's time jumps and she's supposed to be older than she was in real life. She was 21. Anyway, we are back to continue talking about Teresa. In this episode, we are going to be covering episodes 81 to 101. We only have... What happened?
I started on 86. I don't know why. I thought we had left off on 85.
I think we did, right?
I'm pretty sure.
LOL, I'm wrong. That was my mistake. I may cut that off so that no one knows that I make mistakes. In this episode, we are going to be covering episodes 86 to 101 of Teresa. But before we get started, I want to do our TikTok comments of the week. This week's prompt was, are you Team Arturo or Team Mariano? And these are the answers. I have 2 answers, so it's not a lot. Okay. Ting17 said, I am Team Arturo. He is more mature. He knows what he wants, and I feel like Mariano is still immature. Thoughts, Aranza?
I mean, I don't even know whose team I'm on. Continue. What's the next comment?
And the second comment, which I love, is from Jose Herrera, who says, plot twist, I'm Team Dinero. Red Rose.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah. It made me laugh.
Yeah, that's a good comment.
That's a great comment.
I mean, technically then that's Arturo too. Or just anyone like Fernando.
I think it's Fernando more than Arturo.
Yeah, that's horrible.
But that's for next week's episode. Yeah. Stay tuned.
Okay, I think I'm team Mariano.
Really?
Because without Teresa's twisted ways and over ambitiousness, or whatever you want to call it, then Mariano would have been like her first love, her only love, and it would have been a beautiful relationship. Why? You're Team Arturo?
I'm Team Teresa.
Okay, well, same. I'm not thinking out of the box here.
Honestly, though, I think I'm Team Arturo. And only because, I mean, they're both horrible options, in my opinion. Really? I don't like Mariano. I think there's so many moments when he does things that are not supporting of Teresa. He doesn't support her in her ambitions.
Yeah, like and at the beginning, he was very, very similar to Teresa's mom.
Yes.
Which we hate. So at the same time, both people grew. But I'm a Libra, so I get it all. I'm Team Mariano, Arturo, Teresa, and Manny.
And Fernando, probably.
I never liked Fernando.
Okay, good. We can agree on that.
Yeah.
We're anything but Team Fernando. I'm Team Arturo, only because of the chemistry between Angelique Boyer and Sebastián Rulli.
Yeah, they're my parents.
I think that's it.
Tell me why. I was going to tweet this earlier, but I forgot.
Tweet it now.
I was gonna tweet, if I ever happened to run into Sebastián Rulli and Angelique Boyer, I would just simply lay on the floor and let them walk on me. Like, those are my parents. Like,
oh my god. Oh my god.
Their power, the iconic novelas that they've made together,
and they have a new one.
I know
that they're filming.
You told me.
So they're being super secretive about the plot and the cast. Like we all knew that they were gonna be doing this telenovela, but they didn't confirm it until like 2 weeks ago. And even when they confirmed it, Angelique Boyer did a live where she's like, no somos pareja en la telenovela. Mi pareja es Horacio Pancheri, the other actor, but we already know that he's a villain. So they're trying to keep it low because this will be their 4th telenovela together, which power to them. And just based on their Instagram comments, they're super happy to be working together.
I know, their Instagram comments are like, they give me butterflies in my stomach. It's everything you want in a relationship. And the fact that they get to work together so often.
And they're good.
I know, for that long.
I love that.
I hope they last forever.
Me too.
I would be devastated.
I'll cry. But I know that I shouldn't hold them up to that pedestal.
I will.
All right, let's get started on breaking down the plot. So when we last left off, Teresa had asked Arturo for the divorce. This is literally days, maybe weeks after their marriage. They haven't even gone on a honeymoon yet. It was canceled. It's so fast. And even Teresa acknowledges that it's fast. So she asked Arturo for the divorce, but part of her doesn't want the divorce because she wants Arturo to fight for her. But the other part of her wants the divorce because she'll get a lot of money out of it and she'll be able to go back to Mariano. But Arturo, because he sees himself as being weak if he stays being like, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't want to give you the divorce, let's work this out. So he decides to serve her the demand for the divorce and say, here it is. I'm not gonna.
But that's not to say that Arturo didn't try.
He tries, for sure.
He tries, but not to the expectations of Teresa. And we know that Teresa's expectations are very high.
Yes.
She never settles in.
We know this. But again, Teresa is all about keeping her options open. So while Mariano is dating Aida and he's like, I'm not gonna go back with you if you get a divorce, and Arturo isn't fighting as hard as she wants him to fight. She has this scene where she has the 2 teddy bears, the one that Mariano gave her and the one that Arturo gave her. And she's on top of the staircase and she's doing her monologue. And she basically throws both of them down as she says, if you're not going to fight for me and if you're going to reject me, I'm going to find myself a 3rd option. And this is where I want to lay down the floor, Aranza, for you to go onto a beautiful mind excursion, as Kim called it, and talk about the Scorpio tendencies Teresa is displaying here.
Yes, so before the listeners think that I'm toxic, I don't think it's a toxic trait per se, but okay, Kim agrees with me.
By the way, Kim is in the audience tonight.
She's
Shout out to her.
So, how do I word? Just simple. I like to make men obsess with me after they date me. Not even after they date me, just like even just little side pieces that I've had still have a thing for me, as you should.
Period.
Do you guys think that's toxic? Do you think that's toxic?
I don't know. I feel like I don't have the best opinions when it comes to these topics just because.
But okay, so here's the difference between Teresa and I, okay? Teresa's over here playing a lot of guys she goes back and forth with.
Mm-hmm.
I never did that per se. I'm just a great person and it comes naturally. Okay. Like, I'm just so great.
I'm gonna have Kim tap into my mic right now.
First of all, thank you so much for having me. I feel so bad. I feel so bad. No, just hopping into your guys' episode, your podcast, your episode. But it's human nature. I always think of that song Sabor a mí. And because, at least for me, I don't feel like I'm obsessed with my exes, but I literally, today with Jennifer, I went down the list of all the guys I've had sex with. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you gave me this and you gave me that. And we had this beautiful moment together. Or with my exes, we shared this and that. And so it's you always want to leave the taste of you, tu sabor with someone. In the thick of it, obviously you want someone to be obsessed with you. That's the whole fucking point. Mm-hmm. What's the point? If you're not obsessed with me, what's the point?
Let us know. Is this a Scorpio thing? Because we know here I'm a Scorpio moon and Kim here is a Scorpio sun.
All right, I'm gonna go back to the couch now.
There you have it. Live and direct from a Scorpio herself. Let us know on Instagram. Let us know on TikTok. Let us know your thoughts. Anyway, that's on Teresa and that's her mindset. And she's definitely working every angle she has. And definitely any man who interacts with her is obsessed with her and gets obsessed to her.
Exactly.
Maybe to a downfall. We'll see in the finale, which we are getting closer to. Moving forward, just real fast on the side characters, we have Luisa and Fernando who are still together, but while Teresa asks for the divorce from Arturo, she starts getting closer to Fernando to the point where Fernando starts to have his doubts about Luisa and his relationship. Not openly, I think he doesn't even want to admit it to himself, but the doubts are there and he definitely wants Teresa. We also have Fernando's mom coming into town. So new character alert, and she's not the only mom we're going to see in this episode. So Oriana arrives into town and she immediately hates Teresa. She sees Teresa as an arribista. She sees her as Aida would call it, a rata de vecindad. And she sees the way Teresa interacts with her son, Fernando. And she thinks that Teresa wants him. And that the only reason she married Arturo was to get away from poverty. She sees right through to Teresa, but is also incredibly mean to her. And is just really stuck in her old classist ways, which we hate. And we also get this scene where she meets Mariano at the country club and she immediately takes a liking to him and wants to help him even though she knows that Mariano and Arturo are sworn enemies. And she also does this scene where she holds Arturo and Fernando's hands together and makes them promise that they will never fight each other because they are brothers and she raised them to be like her sons. I'm just gonna leave that here because that's gonna be some foreshadowing too for the next batch of episodes we're gonna do. I think, Aranza, you wanted to talk about Oriana too, right?
I think throughout the whole telenovela up to this point, because we might see more enemies of Teresa, but I think that Oriana has been the most cruel and just straight up, she's a bitch. She's the biggest bitch. And at least we'll give this to her. She's a bitch, but she's a bitch too. I'm saying bitch so many times. She's a bitch. Okay, so she's a bitch, but at least she's a bitch to Teresa's face. She was always straight up about it, and they have a scene where, you know, Teresa's trying to be a little like goody two-shoes whenever she's in front of others when she's with Oriana, but when they're alone, Oriana is like, cut the bullshit. I know who you really are. My family and like my people are always trying to be aware of people like you, and you're not gonna infiltrate any of this. And Teresa is still trying to keep up her little goody two-shoes act. And I don't know if she's ever gonna break because personally, I don't know how she does it. How does Teresa sit through so many insults? Throughout her entire life, she's had to like bear these insults from everyone from the higher up, like higher class. And with Oriana, it's in front of your man and your bestie sister and the son. Like, how? I wouldn't be able to.
We definitely side with her because I think Oriana is horrible and I don't like her. She thinks she's all that, but her outfits suck and she's just, I don't know.
Yeah, when she threw a fit about, oh, you let her use my private jet? I was like, okay, so that's how rich they are.
That's how rich they are. Yes. So let's get to that. So as Teresa and Arturo are fighting, Arturo's last card that he plays is he's gonna take Teresa on a trip to Europe, which she's always wanted to do and was supposed to be their honeymoon, and try to work things out with Teresa. Teresa at first is like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I'll go on a trip to, to cleanse myself of all the harm you've done to me. And she just doesn't say yes, but she wants to. And then she gets to the point where she has her little plan. And her plan is she's going to go enjoy this free trip to Europe, come back, get divorced, and then go back to Mariano. So have it all, like the queen she is. And so finally she agrees that she's gonna go on this trip to Europe, several month-long trip, by the way.
I think it's 3 months.
That's more than I could ever afford.
Yeah.
Cries and poor.
And apparently more than Arturo can afford. But we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that later. So, but I feel, so Teresa Teresa agrees to go on this trip. But the universe is definitely not siding with her on wanting her to get to Europe.
It's kind of like us with Joshua Tree. Or just any trip at all.
Any trip at all. Anytime Aranza, Kim, and I have gone anywhere. Road trip. Mostly road trips. But
even when we're going across town.
Even on a 10-minute trip to Taco Bell.
That 10-minute trip turned into like almost an hour.
Yeah, I think it went over the hour. So we have really bad luck anytime the three of us are together. I think it's because Aranza is not supposed to be in groups of 3, according to our spiritual advisor.
Yeah, and we always have this thing where we say we need an earth sign to balance us out. Mm-hmm. And because when we hang out, we have air sign, that's me, Dulce, fire, and Kim, our water sign. And we don't have our earth sign to balance us out. So maybe that's why.
If you want to apply to join our group,
must be an earth sign.
Must be an earth sign and must be, I don't know, 18 plus. I don't know.
18 plus.
I mean, I don't want kids hanging out with us. Well, Elena.
Elena's an earth sign.
Elena is an earth sign. Elena is Aranza's little sister and she's an earth sign.
She can hang.
But yeah, no. Okay, so we're chaos whenever it comes to trips. And I guess so is Teresa because her first trip to Europe got canceled. And now, as they're heading to the airport, they get the news that all flights to Paris have been canceled.
Due to bad weather.
And then that's when Fernando is like, oh, why don't you just take my private jet? And Teresa's face lights up. She's like, really? But really, it's like, really, you have one? But unfortunately for Teresa, Oriana was supposed to go to Cancun. And so Fernando's like, well, I let her borrow the jet. So why don't you just go with them? They take you to Cancun and then they are on their way to Europe. And Oriana is like, de ninguna manera. I do not want her in my plane. I will not share my plane with her. She throws a fit to the point where Teresa and Arturo do not take the plane. Instead, Arturo is able to find tickets to Madrid. So instead of going straight to Paris, which was where Teresa really wanted to go to, because as if you recall, Aurora spent 3 years in Paris. And so Teresa's been a little jealous of that whole trip. So she wants what Aurora had. So that gets delayed a little bit. So instead they fly into Madrid.
Is that why?
Yes, I think that's why. She mentions it a little bit.
Because what I remember when I was watching was Teresa's dad was excited for her to go. And he brought up the fact that she would always talk about visiting places like Europe when she was young. Mm-hmm. And that she was obsessed with going.
For sure. But I think also Aurora going and actually being able to go
fueled her more.
Fueled her even more.
I get that.
So I think that's why also she agrees to go to the trip too, because
girl, we know she was gonna agree to the trip no matter what.
You think? I don't know. I always go back and forth with this because Teresa fools me so many times.
Wait, what's her love language?
Gift giving.
Arturo tried talking to her so many times, apologized to not only her but everyone around her.
That's true. And
brought her roses and all of this and that. And it wasn't until this grand trip, which he kind of owed her because the honeymoon, but
yeah, you're right, but yeah, but I do think that it was fueled a little bit by the jealousy she felt over Aurora. And this is where I want to open it up to you, because you asked a very good question, which was, why is Teresa even still friends with Aurora?
Yeah, because throughout all these episodes, even when, are we talking about Aurora's mom?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Aurora's mom comes back in the picture, and right away, she also didn't like Teresa. So we have two moms that do not like Teresa. Which, by the way, Mother's Day just passed. Shout out to the moms.
Shout out to all the moms. I know my mom does not listen to this podcast, but she loves and supports me any way she can, and I love her.
Same here. Shout out to my mom.
Yeah, we have really good moms.
All right, so going back to, both moms don't like Teresa, and Aurora and Teresa's relationship has been so rocky from the start and more towards the end, because Aurora was kind of naive because she kind of saw how Teresa got bullied in school. But as she started realizing that Teresa was kind of going back and forth with Mariano, and obviously that would hurt Aurora, which is why I'm like, why would anyone hate on Aurora? Not only was she there for Teresa when she was with Mariano, but she was also there for Aida.
That's so true.
Aida asked her for help. She asked her to speak to Mariano so they can get back together. And it's like, how do you do that if you love that person too? So she has such a genuine, true heart. And that led me to think, my question, why does Teresa keep Aurora around? Because towards these episodes that we're seeing, Aurora is kind of just telling her straight up, like, what you're doing is wrong. She's calling her out on her shit. And Teresa's like, ay, amiga, no pienses eso de mí. You know, like, I want us to be close. We've been friends for so long. La, 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 la. Why? And then I answered it very, very fast. I'm like, well, Teresa always keeps her enemies and frenemies closer. And maybe in the back of Teresa's head, because she always would tell herself straight up that Mariano would never ever date Aurora. But now that Mariano dated Aida, her biggest enemy at the time, because now we have Oriana, why wouldn't he? And they work so close together. I feel like she gets more and more, she is intimidated by her. She is scared by her. Because if not, then, you know, we know this. If you don't play a piece in Teresa's life where she can use you, then she's going to dispose of you. But I think that she keeps her around because of that. She's scared that she's going to be with Mariano. But then again, I'm like, she pushes Aurora to be with Mariano.
But very fakely.
Very fakely.
One of my favorite lines from Aurora, she tells Teresa straight up, I don't know if that's just the way you talk or if you're actually trying to hurt me. Because Teresa's just so mean to her sometimes.
So, after the whole iconic line last semester, shout out to all the grads too. Last episode where Teresa tells Aurora, hazte algo, cambia tu
ropa, tu
peinado, hazte algo para que Mariano te vuelva a
te voltee a ver.
Yeah. If my friend ever told me that, I would cry and never speak to them again. I mean, the things, again, their relationship is so rocky, and the times where they are kind of going back and forth with each other, it's ugly and it's so toxic. And Aurora is trying to, like, she knows, she sees it now and calls her out on it. But Teresa's still playing, again, goody two-shoes.
You know what I find really interesting is that, and you mentioned it a couple of episodes ago, how Teresa surrounds herself with women who don't have mothers or don't have any other sister or womanly figure in their life. But what happens in this chunk of episodes is Luisa, Aurora, even Esperanza, they all get positive female characters in their lives.
Like actual, genuine.
Yes.
They care about them, not Teresa.
Aurora gets her mom back. Luisa has Oriana back in her life. Esperanza is now living with Refugio and Juana and Refugio are providing a lot of support for her during her pregnancy. So every single one of them, and I feel like this is not going to look good for Teresa in the future.
Well, yeah, because she calls all of them her besties.
It's setting up the stage where it's going to tip over and Teresa's no longer going to have them.
Yeah, because if there's one thing you need, it's one good friend at least in your life. Because if not, who do you cry to? Guess your parents. You're really down bad.
I don't think Teresa would ever cry to her parents.
Exactly.
So yeah, so that's that on that.
Why do you think Teresa keeps Aurora around?
I think like you said, she's keeping her close because she knows that out of anyone in her life, she's the only one that poses a legitimate threat to her for Mariano. She knows that, and she knows that she can manipulate her with her words and by being like, oh, go with him, you know, I support you. But she also knows that right now, especially that Mariano is dating Aida, who Aurora is now friends with, she's not gonna be like Teresa and get in the way of that relationship. She's gonna help both of them because they're both her friends at the end of the day, both Mariano and Aida. So Aurora just has a really, really, really good heart, and Teresa knows she can take advantage of it, and that's why she keeps her close. But, and I covered this in my YouTube video, so go subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. I also think that initially in their friendship, Teresa and Aurora were really friends, like early on. And I think just as Teresa got more ambitious and she became more certain of what she wanted to do, that's when she really started manipulating her.
I think it probably started because of Mariano.
Oh, for sure.
Because, how do you feel when your bestie tells you, oh, you broke up with Mariano? Is it okay if I go after him now?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's never gonna be okay for you to go after him.
That's so rough. But yeah, I think definitely Mariano got into that friendship. So, moving forward, let's talk about Europe.
We don't see much of it.
We don't.
Dulce has a theory of why, which...
I have a theory because y'all know I study theater. So, I know that when productions, especially productions like this one, who maybe don't have the capacity to ship everyone off to location, what they do is they'll ship off like the people that are required and are necessary. And that is the actors. So in this case, Angelique Boyer and Sebastián Rulli, and the director or whatever. And then what they'll do is they'll hire local crews. And so they'll hire local filmmakers, local camera people, and they'll make up, they'll shoot for like a week or however long they need to. And then they fly back home. That way it's cheaper to hire them there than to bring an entire crew from Mexico and fly them over there. So what I think happened is they were very limited because even if you see the way these scenes are shot,
they look like montage scenes that people make when you go on a trip and you make a video of it, which was still cute.
It's a cute home movie.
Damn. Like that.
But y'all, it's just there's angles where they're pointing up to their chins as they're talking, and it's just it looks like a home movie. But I mean, Sebastián Rulli and Angelique Boyer are very videogenic, so you don't need to do much for them to look good on camera. And so we just see all these scenes of them hopping along Europe,
going to the touristy spots, taking pictures.
So many scenes I see people like lounging their luggage.
No. It's so crazy because I'm like, usually you need permission, and it looked literally the people that were passing behind them were staring at the camera and they were like, what's going on here? It was so awkward.
It was, I think it's called like guerrilla filmmaking, where you don't get the permissions and you just shoot. The Office used to do this whenever they would shoot in New York. They didn't get the permission, so they would just have Steve Carell or the actors just running around.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Imagine walking around Europe and just seeing Angelique Boyer and Sebastián Rulli.
I mean, but at the time, they weren't really...
Sebastián Rulli was. But also at this time, because telenovelas tend to shoot pretty closely to how they release the episodes.
Oh.
The telenovela might have already been a hit by the time they went to Europe.
Oh, yeah, because they shoot... Oh, right.
They shoot like maybe a month in advance.
You're right.
So, just a little behind the scenes look. And I could be completely wrong on every single one.
Imagine you're like...
I'm over here the expert witness.
You're coming after the producers.
I'm coming after French filmmakers, which I'm so sorry. I met some lovely French filmmakers, but get a hold of your people right now. So yeah, so we get all these montages, and there's three really, that I want to talk about. The first is the bear statue that they see in Madrid, Aranza.
So again, they're visiting the touristy spots, and this is one of them. And Arturo tells Teresa like, oh, I know how much you love bears, because the statue was like the flag and the bear. And right away, Teresa starts thinking about her bears. And again, the bears are going to play a very, very important role. I don't remember, but we'll find out soon at the end. And she starts crying because, again, she's thinking about Mariano the whole time.
So then Arturo says, you already have a bear that I gave you, but I also want this bear to be in your memory and for you to associate it with me. And so they take a picture, which we later see it's so grainy, it's so... You can't even see the bear in the picture they sent to Luisa. But they take a picture and they hug. And throughout the trip, Teresa has been very distant. There's a big fit she throws because she realizes that Arturo only got one bedroom and that there's only one bed. And she's like, I'm not sharing a bed with you. And Arturo's like, we came here to solve our problems. And I know that we're not going to sleep together. But can we at least pretend to like each other? And Teresa's like, no, I don't want this. And then it's not until Arturo threatens to cancel the entire trip and go back home that Teresa's like, okay, fine. But she falls asleep on the couch, and there's actually a very cute scene.
Okay, one of many cute scenes. Okay, we have this scene that Dulce was just talking about where Teresa throws her fit and goes to sleep on the couch. And in the middle of the night, what do parents do? When you would wake up as a kid and you're back in bed, even though you slept on the couch and it was like a mystery. He goes and she's sleeping beautifully, of course, and he just picks her up like nothing. He's shirtless. You can see his cute little butt, and he just carries her way to the bed. And yeah, they have that cute moment.
And kisses her forehead.
Oh, yeah, the
kisses
forehead
her
kiss.
forehead.
I forgot the forehead kiss. And then they have a cute moment again when they're just traveling around Europe. And it's cold outside. It's like snowing. He's like, ¿sabes qué es el remedio para el frío? O para calentarte? Es un cafecito. Pero ¿sabes cuál sirve más rápido? Un abrazo de alguien que te ama.
De la persona que te quiere más.
Yes, yes. And then they hug, and there's other cute moments. Like every moment that they had in Europe was like so special. And you're in Europe, Paris. Like, what do they call it? It's like the city of romance?
Something like that.
Something like
What
that.
do they call the Eiffel Tower?
I know. I was wondering, I'm like, imagine people who live around there, how many times they see people getting proposed to.
Oh, yeah. That was so bitter. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That was so bitter.
I mean, it could be bitter for like the single people around that area too.
Hello. Hello. No, they have so many cute moments, but there's another moment that I want to talk about. Not there yet. I'll let you take that one. I want to talk about a moment, and I don't know if you caught it, but they're talking about the Palace of Versailles.
Oh, mi reina.
Not even that.
What?
Okay, kind of, but I think, yeah, I don't think if it hit how it hit me.
Okay.
But they start talking about it, and Teresa starts talking about royalty and the royalty of that time, and she says they had everything. They were rich, and they just could do anything they wanted, and I wish I could live that lifestyle, which is when Arturo's like, I will treat you like a queen. But then he says, yeah, you know, they had everything until they lost it all. Even their heads.
Oh my goodness. I didn't even catch that. Because I was just like, wow, he called her mi reina.
No. So I think that's a big foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk a little bit more before we end the episode.
I know. And Dulce, when we started watching this new novela we're going to get into, she told us to really pay attention to the entrada. And I hadn't really done that before. And now when I'm doing it with Teresa, it's like so obvious.
They tell us a lot if they're well made. There's some that are just pretty. I'll show you all this one entrada that I think is the most beautifully crafted one. It's from a telenovela called Pasion, and it's by a producer named Carla Estrada, who is whenever she does her entradas, they're all one shot, and it moves from location to location to location, and it's all just one long continuous shot, and they're so beautiful, and there's so much symbolism. And the Pasion one is really just, I'll show it to you, but I'll link it up in the show notes. Just perfect.
When I think of one shots, I think of the one from Haunting of a Hill House.
Literally what I was thinking of.
That one, like
Yes.
how?
The kid, I saw the making of YouTube video.
Yes.
Blew
The
my
amount
mind.
of people that it takes to do that and how many times they practice it.
Because if one mess, you miss where you're supposed to stand.
So much goes into it. The lighting, the sound,
done.
the people, the movements.
And they were working with kids, and it's so hard to work with kids, but those kid actors were just amazing.
Phenomenal. What were we doing at that age? What were we
Watching
doing
telenovelas.
Teresa's age right now? Me. Even after surgery, I don't look as good as her.
Stop it. Anyway, the last cute Europe moment that happens is the most telling one. And throughout this whole time, Teresa, honestly, she's been having the time of her life. She is truly, truly, truly enjoying Arturo's company, I think for the first time ever. And again, she made this whole thing about how they were not going to sleep together. They're in Paris, and again, this is a city that Teresa really, really wanted to go to. It has all the love undertones and everything. And so they go. And then Teresa approaches Arturo. They're just being together and they're joking and it's very playful. And then they start kissing. And then it gets even more intense. And then all of a sudden, they both have sex together. And I think it's the first time that Teresa has actual feelings.
She chose to.
She chooses.
Again, up until that point of the trip, they were sleeping separately. Like Arturo was sleeping on the couch instead of Teresa. And she goes to him, and that's when she initiates everything. And then afterwards, or I don't know if it's before, but she tells him, me estoy enamorando contigo. Not me estoy volviendo a enamorar contigo. She just says, I'm starting to. But I don't think Arturo even cares. He's just happy that he even has an opportunity, a second chance with her. Mm-hmm. Which, did we say the fantasma thing?
No, we didn't. So we can touch on it briefly. But as you remember, the whole reason that they're even divorced or thinking about divorce is because Arturo cheated on Teresa with Paloma. But then what happens? Paloma dies almost immediately after. And before she dies, she tells Teresa that Arturo was with her. And that's when Teresa's really upset. And that's when she she threatens Arturo with divorce. And so the whole time leading up to the Europe trip, there's a lot of talks about Paloma, and there's a lot of talks about them being scared that Paloma, even in her death, is going to become a fantasma, a ghost in their relationship.
Yeah, and she's having this conversation with Fernando, and she's like, I know that with the living, breathing girl, no matter who it is, I can always win up against them, whoever it is. But with Paloma, she's a ghost. It's worse. I can't compete with the ghost. And I'm like, damn.
Have some respect,
I know.
Teresa. But yeah, so Teresa is starting to fall for Arturo, for real this time. And they return back home to Mexico. They're settling back into their life. Teresa even does the grown-up thing, and she goes sees Mariano, who is now living in these luxury apartments. He has left the vecindad, and she says goodbye to him, and she hugs him, kisses him on the cheek, which I think is very important because it's the first time she's gone to him and not basically slept with him. And she tells him, I wish you happiness, but I wanted to let you know that I'm staying with Arturo. And she leaves. And we watched this part with Kim, and I think both Kim and I were like, sincerity?
Was it not sincere? It was very like, you never know what that is.
You never know what that is.
But yeah, they had a steamy moment, because Kim even commented like it was with precision, where Mariano like grabbed her and like pushed him against him, but it was like a paper thin of the
distance
separation.
between them. Yeah, but for now, Teresa has done the right thing. She has let go of Mariano. I see your face.
I mean, yeah, you're right about,
It's the right thing.
With Mariano and Arturo, but in the background, she's messing around with other people.
Yeah. So they get back into their everyday life, and this is the last thing we'll talk about. So they get back to their regular life, and they comment about how it sucks to be back from vacation because now they have to work. And Arturo has been working a very important case with some guy named Sanz. Aranza, do you want to explain this? Because I feel like you understand this part better than me.
So basically, Arturo trusts in Fernando and tells him about his money problems and admits that he spent way more than he should have on the trip, and he was neglecting work stuff. And by work stuff, he meant Signs, which is apparently this guy that he teamed up with on business ventures and whatever. Like, they're tied together from the beginning when Arturo was in a bad place with his parents situation, and now Signs is going through something and is about to lose it all, and he's trying to help him, because if Signs loses it all, then Arturo will too, because they're like tied together. They have a word, forgot what the word was, but
it's collateral. It's if you take out a car loan and you put a cosigner, that's this type of situation that Arturo is now in. So we all know Teresa. We all know that above love, above everything, comes money first. And she finally is at a place where she loves Arturo, but Arturo may lose all his money.
And what does Teresa always say? She always says she wants to dominate her feelings. Does she get to dominating her feelings, or does money get in that way?
We'll find out next week, because that is where we'll end for this episode. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know because I know how it ends, but I don't know how we get to the ending. But I just know that Teresa is in for a rude awakening, and I think the universe is going to continue to conspire against her. Because up until now, everything has been going right for Teresa, but I think we're finally getting to the moment where things are not going to go right for her. And stay tuned, because we'll be covering that next week. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. If you like what you're hearing, listening, leave us a review, follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and thank you to Aranza for once again joining me and watching this telenovela with me. And also huge shout out to our cameo provided by the wonderful, the one and only Scorpio, Kimberly Michelle Padilla Estrada.
Thank you.
See you next time.